So welcome to Therapeutic World, and today I'm going to be interviewing one of my ex-students about her journey after becoming a qualified counsellor. Okay, Sue, so tell me about the placement that you were working in when you were on the counselling course.
It's a homeless charity, not far from where I live. And I decided, because I was looking avidly for a placement and couldn't get anything that I thought would really help with my learning as such, my personal learning. So I approached a homeless charity, didn't have a counsellor, and with the help of the managers there, we created a placement.
Yes.
And my greatest learning came from there, working with in there and the homeless.
Was that quite challenging?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It was really challenging in the respect that everything that I'd learned up until second year of level 4, everything came into a full within a month.
Yes.
I got it all, everything that I needed.
Yes.
With all the,
And I'm guessing that you got a lot of support through that.
I did. I had a really good supervisor who I paid for independently, but she was really good. I sourced her, having worked for the homeless herself, and my own therapy as well. No, it was probably the best thing I could have ever done. Yes,
and just so that our viewers know that when students embark on the level 4 therapeutic counselling course, they need to find a placement themselves, and they go out and they look for things that they're interested in. It could be bereavement, it could be the homeless, it could be working with OCD, and they approach those agencies and they go for interviews and so on. And some students may have one placement, they may have 2, some have had 3, depending on what they can manage. Okay, thanks for that. So since qualifying, have you kind of pursued any CPD or any courses?
Yes, I have. I've done some adolescent courses with Place to Be and learning to work with adolescents, which is really insightful. I should have added that I did, alongside my homeless placement, I did work for Place to Be for 15 months.
How was that? Tell us a little bit about Place to Be.
That was really insightful, because we were kind of off-putted by the fact you've got to commit for a year solidly.
Yes.
But the CPD that they offer alongside the courses is invaluable and costs hundreds of pounds. But the learning from a child's perspective, and you start off with primary and you work into adolescence, is fantastic.
So that means going in schools
every week, committing every
particular
day.
Children.
Yeah, every week, and on-site supervision as well. So it was a really good thing to have alongside my other placements. When you talk about 2 or 3, I had 2.
Yes.
And continued after I'd finished the course.
Yes. And any other CPD?
Yeah, I learnt last year because I chose to learn about it through the clients that I was bringing in. A rewind, it's called a rewind technique that Dr. David Muss created, and I went on a day-long course at East London University on how to work with that and with veterans and trauma, PTSD predominantly. And I've done a couple of other 2 or 3 hour CPD courses, and of course you can do some online too, which you can pay for. But anytime I felt I need a top up, I think it's important that you continuously learn to be the best that you can be.
And that's an important point, because after becoming a qualified counsellor, it's not as though things just stop there. You've still got to, train yourself. There's always something to learn.
Absolutely.
The learning doesn't stop.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so Susan, one of the things that you mentioned was that that when you qualified, you rented a room in a clinic.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
To see clients without having any clients whatsoever.
No, and that was a bit. It was a bit of a risk, but I needed case studies for another course that I was doing alongside finishing up with the counselling course, and I needed clients, and I thought, well, the only way I'm going to do this is if I take the bull by the horns and rent a room and see what happens.
Yes, yes.
And through the case studies that I got, they converted into, well, 3 of them converted into clients who then told their peers, and it kind of started there, really.
Yeah.
And it was just something I decided to do, and I did.
So that's a
And it
real
worked.
leap of faith, because I know that for most people, when they rent a room, they only rent it as and when they see clients. But I think you kind of booked out a block of rooms or a slot. And how long was that slot for?
It was like 2 days, 2-hour slots.
Yes.
But I talked my way in, as you do.
Yes.
And and I sold it as case studies, and ultimately I'll become a really, I will stay here, and
Yes.
I'll commit to being here because it's local to me, and he took a leap of faith with me too.
Yes.
The owner. And now I'm one of his associates. I'm on his register.
Excellent.
And he refers clients to me as well. So
Yeah.
it's worked really well.
So initially, when you booked the 2-hour slots, was it for 3 months? Did you have to say that? Was it a 3-monthly thing, a 2-monthly?
No, it was ad hoc, and it was
Right.
And
So that's
after the
not so
first,
bad,
after
yeah.
the first, he gave me the first month free, and then I paid him
Yeah.
for the clients that came in.
Yeah. So
That
you
was
booked
fine.
the room and the clients came.
Mhm.
That's faith, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could have seemed
Kind
a
of
bit nutty at the time, but it's just what I felt I should be doing, being
Yes.
more proactive and just do it.
Yeah. The law of attraction comes to mind.
It does indeed. It does indeed. I actually stood outside the college one day, looked down at the clinic as I was walking down. I think one day I'll be in there,
Mm.
and I was.
Right. That's wonderful. Okay. So how did you go about advertising?
Okay, after qualifying, received my certificate, and then went forward and put forward to do the COP test with the BACP, because I realised that that's important to have on all counsellor cards that I saw had that BACP thing.
Okay. So that's the
BACP.
ethical framework, the British Association of Counselling and
And
Psychotherapy.
psychotherapy, yes, the big body.
Being a member,
Being
yeah,
yeah.
is important.
It is important. It endorses you for people to feel safe in choosing you, I found.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course that's paramount. And then I just I joined the counselling directory, the BACP directory. I went on apps next door called Nextdoor, which are local apps which the police invented,
All right. Okay.
and I put my services out there. That's how I got my case studies who turned into clients, and it just evolved from there. And then it's predominantly word of mouth now, which is really good.
Yeah. So then, I'd just like to say that that some people, they tend to stay in their day jobs and they see clients on the side. And I know that you're purely seeing clients.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many clients are you seeing?
On an average week, between 15 and 18.
Is that manageable? How are you
Yeah,
finding
no,
that?
absolutely. My top is 20.
Yes.
I feel for myself it would be too much to go over that. Others differ, but I think for myself, my own self-care,
Yeah.
where I'm at right now is really good.
Yeah. And Susan, did it take a while to build that up?
Absolutely. It took roughly about a year,
Yeah.
just under, but
Yeah.
about a year.
Yeah. And you were saying some of those were referrals.
Yeah,
Yes.
about half were referrals, because as I found, that is your best form of advertising, is word of mouth through peers
Yeah.
and friends and their clients' friends, etc. That's how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned supervision. So you do have supervision. So
Yeah.
how has supervision helped you? And just like to say to the viewers that supervision is guidance for the work that you're actually doing with your clients.
Yes, and it's choice. I've always chosen to have supervision, and now I have. When I was on the course, I had mostly telephone and once a month face-to-face, but now I have every 2 weeks I have a 2-hour supervision with my supervisor, who's she's actually a writer for the BACP, and does a lot of the workings in their ethical framework, etc. She's really insightful,
Right.
but it does take a little while to find the right one. And I
Yes.
found her, and she's fantastic. And
Yeah. Yeah. So I suppose some people immediately don't find the supervisor that actually suits them. It could be because of their style of working, that, you know, you might be an integrative counsellor and maybe the supervisor may just, they may just know the person-centred approach, and there might be a bit of a mismatch, or it could be just personality, really.
Absolutely.
But there's nothing wrong in changing, you know, your supervisor.
Just as sometimes you won't be the counsellor for certain clients. It's a freedom of choice.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and then personal therapy. Are you in personal therapy? So
I am.
You're getting counselling, you're receiving counselling yourself?
Yes, I think it's important. I've kept mine all the way through 3 years now. She's excellent for me. She's good. I see her twice a month again. And for my own self-care, as part of the self-care as a counsellor, I think it's important that you do have that infrastructure,
Yes.
however it may be, whatever it may be, to make it enables you to be your better self.
Yeah. And also, you know, what might be coming up for you in counselling may have a link to the work that you're actually doing with your client. So it's also, you know, important for us to develop that self-awareness, and I suppose counselling gives you that, receiving counselling gives you that. It heightens your sense of self-awareness. And the more self-aware that we become, the more perceptive and self-aware we're going to be with our client.
Because empathy's in the room, and if it's not, you know, your UPR, it's picked up by clients, and that is so true. If you can't be as not open, obviously you have to have your boundaries in place, but you be real. And if that doesn't come across to your clients, then you're not going to get the best from your clients.
Okay. All right. So you said a little bit about the type of work that you've been doing. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that? Anything that's
No, not really. I see. I think my oldest client is 90, and my youngest client, who I'm going to see tomorrow, will be 8.
Yeah.
So just be open to everything and anything.
Yeah.
And study. Keep studying after you finish, because it is so important. You bring in, like you said, the laws of attraction. You bring in what you need, as well as what they
what
need.
you put
They're
out
drawn
there,
to you.
isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any plans for the future? Is there anything that you'd like to do in your fantasy, maybe?
Open my own clinic.
That's wonderful.
I'd love to open my own clinic and have counsellors and trainee counsellors, and offer in-house CPD as and when, and 1 day a week free to, obviously vetted, but free to people, because I think everyone should have some therapy. It's so beneficial.
It's a luxury, isn't it?
It is a luxury, and I think it's becoming more and more a wave is a mass now, especially in the clients that I see, the millennials and Generation X, as I was told yesterday as well. It is becoming the norm, as it is in America and Canada.
I was going to say, we should be like America. I mean, they talk about therapy like, my therapist, as though, getting their hair done, or getting their nails done, my gardener, my therapist, my this, my that, my cleaner.
And we're heading that way, we really are. And that's definitely come to my learning over the last 6 months in the clientele that I'm getting, which is in the millennial age group predominantly, apart from my 90-year-old.
Okay, so how has the level 4 counselling informed your way of working? Has it helped you in any way, being on the course?
Absolutely.
In terms of learning? I suppose that's a difficult question to answer, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the level 4 course. Not that I thought I would be doing it so actively until probably the last year of the level 4 did I think that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. For whatever reason I deviated from, I was going to work within the NHS, that was the original plan. And then I thought, well, why? Just go out there and go en masse, and hopefully in the future maybe open doors to other areas too.
Okay, so I know that you do keep up with people from the group, and I was just wondering how easy has it been for them to find work? Because one of the questions that my students often ask me, and I suppose the viewers are probably wondering as well, you know, are there jobs in counselling? Do people get jobs afterwards? So, I mean, what do you think, from what you've seen, from what you've heard, not necessarily from your peers, but, you know, being out there in the counselling world, what's going on out there?
There are definitely more jobs coming forward, especially within financial institutions. So I've also, in my many list of things, I'm on the app for Guardian jobs. And in Guardian Job, every day I will get a job coming up within either schools or financial institutions that want wellbeing counsellors or school counsellors, or it's becoming more and more, whereas maybe once or twice a week, like every single day now, they are becoming more and more sought after. So I definitely think that counselling within 5, maybe 10 years, not even that long actually, it will be a profession sought after, and I think that's why everything's changing within it, to make it a little bit more difficult to become a counsellor, and you know, to know what you're doing, because you're working with, just as you work your body at the gym, you're working the mind, you're helping ease things. So no, I think it's going to become a very sought after profession. So.
And I suppose you have to be active. Like, you know, I'm really impressed with your journey, the way that you just went for it. And I suppose after finishing a course, it could be quite easy just to sit back and expect it to actually come to you. You know, I believe that if you really want something and you put your mind to it, it will come. It will come. If you believe that, if you're if you're into that way of thinking.
Well, what have you got to lose? You've studied for the best part of 3 years, 4 years, and I mean, if you want to put it in your bag of, you know, that's what I've done, tick, that's fine. But if you want to actively go out there and do it, there's nothing. You're the only thing stopping you. Yeah,
there are things that you need to do. Like you put together a website, didn't you?
Yeah, website, business cards. That was it. It was website, doing the COP test with the BACP to become on their register.
Yes.
And then further, well, actually this year, accreditation.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a journey.
It's to do the groundwork.
Absolutely, you have to do the groundwork to build yourself up and be open to everything.
Yeah. Okay. So what advice would you give to students who have qualified? What would you say to them? They've just qualified. They're probably, because I have a set of students, and they I don't think they've really thought about what they're going to do. So they said to me, could you do a talk for us on what's out there, progression routes, and you know, courses that they could do, and so on. So what advice would you give? I don't think they've really thought about it yet. It's like, we've only got like 3 months left. What are we going to do? Where should I go? What, you know?
Finish your 3 months, obviously, and then just go with what feels right for you. If it feels, you know, maybe start off by, you know, getting yourself on the registers, doing it in the evenings alongside your daytime job. Don't
just go and quit.
No,
quit your day job. Don't quit your day job.
No, definitely. Well, yeah. Don't quit your day job. Build it slowly. Don't expect it to happen quickly, because it doesn't. It takes time, and it does. You have to be aware of the time factor. When you rush it, it won't happen. But if you take time with it and you nurture it, it's important to keep on top of your learning, even if you're not seeing clients. You can research things on the internet. There's so many websites you can link up to, Facebook groups about private practice. There's lots of things to keep in the loop.
Yes.
So even if you're not doing it, keep in the loop, because it's important you stay on top of what's coming in.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because I can imagine that people that have just stayed in their day jobs, they can lose contact with the counselling world. By that I mean your counselling friends and everything else surrounding that. And
I don't think you realise that it can be a career, and you can work it into a career if you put the time and the effort into it. at least 3 or 4 hours a week alongside your day job, it will come
Yeah.
to you. It's more, I see it now with the counsellors I work with, they're in their mid to late 40s, and they're making it a career now because they don't want to be in the career they're in. And you can, if you work hard at it, you can do it.
Yes, and I suppose I know that's one of the reasons why a lot of people come on the counselling courses from all different types of professions, and they don't want to be in that profession anymore.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, it comes to a point where you think enough.
And then, and what about those who have not embarked on the counselling journey? So, what some of our viewers listening today, they've not been on a counselling course, or they might be at the beginning of one, perhaps level 2 counselling skills. Any advice that you can give to them when you think back to your journey?
I don't be as open as you possibly can. Definitely, I think I for one, on level 2, wasn't that open, and it was a progression. And and the more you realise that the further down you go within, the more you bring out to how you become. And don't be fearful of it. Let it go, because it will bring you the greatest awareness ever.
Yeah.
And it's a journey.
Yes.
It's a process.
And it's commitment as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, total commitment. Yeah.
People, I've said this before, that that people often think that there's going to be no work, and we're going to be sitting down talking about our problems, having a cup of tea and a biscuit, and it's all going to be lovely and cosy. And really, it's not like that. You know, there is quite a bit of work that needs to be done on the course, and looking at aspects of yourself and so on. Essay writing. Lots of assignments.
Yes, it's a slog, but it's so worth it at the end. It really is, and that feeling of independence and enlightenment, I suppose. It sounds very meditative, but it is. It's enlightenment, and you just feel. I felt the best I've ever felt. Looking forward.
Okay. Anything else? We've come to the end now. So, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Susan?
No, not at all. Just enjoy as much of it as you can. And I know sometimes it will be like, you're pulling your hair out, but just persevere, and it will be one of the greatest achievements. And the feeling you get when you know that you've passed and you've completed it is nothing tops it.
Yes. And one of the things, as you were saying, that was one of the qualities of a counsellor is to be resilient. You kind of really need to be resilient on the course before you become a counsellor, because things happen, don't they? Things happen all the time, and you've got to be resilient, because you're going to be sitting with clients, and you're going to have to eventually be able to contain your clients, and they're going to be going through all these things. So if you can't get your own stuff in order, then it's kind of a little bit challenging to be able to contain a particular client that you're working with.
Absolutely, it is you've obviously got you know about boundaries, and you'll learn about boundaries during the course. But when you're actually with clients, whether it's in placement or wherever, you'll understand fully what those mean, and disclosures, and so everything will come together a lot more when you're in client work.
Yes.
As long as it's you're open to it, and you're what you give out, what you get back.
Yes.
And if that's your UPR and your honesty and your empathy, you will get that from your clients, and that's no bigger. Your light bulbs will keep going off, and so will theirs.
Yes. So I think the main thing that I'm getting from that is that you've got to be able to work on yourself. I say to my students, you can't just put on, the core conditions coat, your counselling coats, with the empathy, the unconditional positive regard and the congruence, and walk into the room, and then when you come out of the room, just to throw it off. We're changing from within, we're becoming, we're changing all the time, we're becoming better and better and better. Absolutely. From within, which is really important. So you have to work on yourself. There are I know that there's some of my students, when they start on the level 2, they say that they've been accused of helping other people but not actually receiving that help, or not actually taking on feedback themselves but giving feedback to others.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is a nice place to end. Thanks so much, Susan, for coming in and talking to us about your journey. It's been lovely. And thank you, viewers, for watching Therapeutic World. See you soon. Bye-bye. And if you do like this video, please give us a like. And remember to press the subscribe button so that we can keep you updated.